This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome on into the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. Rumor mill winds blowing. The Yankees not really doing much of anything, but they're involved because Juan Soto is still the centerpiece of the rumor mill. So the Yankees are going to be involved until it's over. The meetings are happening. As we understand it, the Blue Jays go first, the Red Sox go next, then the Mets, then the New York Yankees, meaning Hal Steinbrenner has a chance to either do the easiest thing ever or do the most embarrassing thing ever. They're last. The Red Sox are going today. Their pursuit is apparently getting a bit more serious. Again, that's great. The Mets can invalidate the seriousness of that pursuit with Steve Cohen's big old fat wallet, and so can the Yankees by matching the money. So it's going in order of, I would say, that this is very well set up, organized in order to maximize the amount of cash that Juan Soto receives. This is not a commentary on which team he's going to choose. It's just to say, a couple days ago, we were told that the Blue Jays were the most serious threat for Juan Soto. They went first. Now we're being told the Red Sox are a pretty serious threat for Juan Soto, coinciding with their meeting. Haven't heard about the Blue Jays in a couple of days. Then come the Mets. Then come the Yankees last. It's all laid out for Hal Steinbrenner if he wants to do what he has to do, but that doesn't mean we can't rank fear factor with regard to the current contenders, because there's a plus with almost all of these teams that are chasing after Soto. I fail to see the plus with one of the teams, but we will get to that. Plus, the latest Yankees rumor mill, I mean, in comparison to the Soto news, it just flat out sucks. They're looking at a bullpen reunion. We'll talk about that. That feels like it'll probably get done. They're eyeing a former top prospect who once spurned them, a reunion, a union that never happened, that should have happened in 2015. Either way, all of that is spice that makes it sound more exciting than it is. It'd be a terrible move. We'll go deeper into that. We just saw you on Tuesday. We appreciate you if you're coming back on Thursday. Thanks for joining the podcast. Every Monday and Tuesday and Thursday, typically at 2 o'clock Eastern. This is Thursday. It's 2 o'clock Eastern. So it actually makes perfect sense that we're live now. Everyone's saying, oh, man, that tracks. People are saying that tracks. They're like, It's extremely logical that you're on the air. And we're like, thank you. Yes. But I'm Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante is joining me. And Thomas, we're going to do a breakdown of the fear factor in the Juan Soto chase, because what else is there to talk about right now?
Break it down. This sucks, dude. But could one say that it is indeed right in front of Hal Steinbrenner?
It certainly is. It's never been more right in front of Hal Steinbrenner. And in fact, he doesn't even need to really think about how to do his job here. His job's going to be laid out. Boris and Soto are going to have the facts and figures. He just has to do one thing. And so that's why the fear factor is a little bit low, but he's got to do that one thing. So the fear factor is a little bit high.
Yeah, this is giving me 2022 vibes when Judge hit free agency, and I know that was like a little bit more salacious, one could say, because Judge had been drafted by the Yankees, he had been developed by the Yankees, he became a Yankees MVP candidate, Rookie of the Year, next franchise, cornerstone player after Derek Jeter, and that offseason did not get moving until he signed, and there was kind of a lot of whatever speculation around it. Remember how contrived the whole Giants thing felt? It was like John Morosi filming Judge in a hotel lobby. Bill, look who's here.
And
it's Aaron Judge.
If you're doing the childhood favorite team game, which one of these teams in the Soto chase sure is doing because of one interview, and I'd be doing it too, I get it. But the San Francisco Giants were well documented as Judge's childhood team. That was not a last minute uncovering. It was like for 2 or 3 years before Judge became a free agent, Giants fans were doing the Mets fan thing, going, hey, wait until he hits the open market. We need a star. He loves us. He wants to be Bonds. And then Hal Steinbrenner had to step in and pay the amount of money that the Giants paid. Although notably, I read a column that pointed this out. And so I'm now going to grab a megaphone and point it out again. The Yankees matched the Giants offer for Judge, and they got him. The Giants offer for Judge was not the high water mark for Judge. That was the San Diego Padres, who were the reason he flew into San Diego during the winter meetings and scared everybody. And the Yankees didn't know he was doing that. Nobody knew he was doing that. But Judge didn't want to be a Padre. and it is what it is. It led to Xander Bogaerts on the Padres, but the Yankees didn't match the highest bid for Judge. They matched the bid from the team you heard about for a really long time that ended up being the second highest bid.
Yeah, and he ended up just being home for the holidays. It's like they made a whole big deal that like, oh, he's visiting the Giants, and everyone was like, it's actually Thanksgiving weekend, and this is where Judge's family is from, so he's probably just there. I mean, he's killing two birds with one stone. He's going to eat some turkey. He's going to hang out with the fam. He's going to meet with the Giants. He's going to be underwhelmed by it all, and he's going to come back. So
yeah, Judge turns to Morosi's camera, and goes, I don't know. We'll see. Going to see some family and friends. And the camera follows him. And he just sits down at a table, sticks his face in a big pile of cranberry sauce. It's like, what does it mean? It's like a Twin Peaks flashback. It's like, no, he's actually just eating cranberry sauce by the mouth.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. And it's like that offseason too. I think for a moment we were scared that he would leave just because we didn't trust the Yankees. And that situation again was different because the Yankees lowballed him that offseason and then went against his wishes by leaking the extension offer details 5 minutes before opening day. And everybody was mad about that. Everybody you could have imagined was mad about that. Like players had stuff to say about it. Judge briefly commented on it. The fans were pissed. Other media members were just like, what is this? Why did you do this? This is arguably the second biggest free agent of our lifetime currently. Like it's Ohtani and Soto in terms of impact and influence, and Soto has unique age situation where he's hitting free agency extremely early, which is almost never before seen, or at least never before seen for the amount of money that he's going to be making. And also it's similar because outside of the Padres surprise in the Judge sweepstakes, like all of the suitors were laid out there. It was like, okay, Giants are the obvious other one. Then we have the whatever rumored big market teams. The Dodgers are lurking, much like they are in this situation. And it's a very limited market because there's only so much that these teams can spend. Now, in Soto's case, I think he's not signing with a small market team. We'll get that out of the way. Mid-market team could face an advantage here because if they are going to pay for anything, it will be for somebody who's 25, 26 years old, where you are getting a majority of prime years on a 12 to 14-year contract. So that's what's a little bit different here. But then again, we're sitting here, we're waiting for news. We're trying to cook up some links and speculation based on who might be available, who is available, what fits make sense, who's getting squeezed out of other roster spots on other teams. But the baseball community is offering us nothing. It's Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Mets. I mean, do the Phillies have a meeting with Soto? How is that possible?
And we got to touch on the Dodgers too. And I think we talk about them up top before rating the real suitors, because the Dodgers should be in the top three, right? Everyone agrees that they have vacancies. They have vacancies in left and right. They have Mookie. They move Mookie Betts to the infield for fun. They don't have.
He's going to second base, right?
He's going to second base, and Edman, I guess, goes to short unless they sign Willy Adames, and then Edman goes to center. But they don't have a left and a right fielder right now. And that'll probably be Teoscar Hernandez and Andy Paez, probably. But, I mean, it should be. There's no reason we shouldn't be talking about the Dodgers as a potential $600 million team here, because they have endless money. Shohei Ohtani cleared the deck for them to have endless money, and they have positional needs where Juan Soto can be. Now, the issue is he can never transition to DH with the Dodgers because they already made their Ohtani play, and that's just not going to happen. And Ohtani's never going to be a pitcher full-time, and he's never going to play outfield as long as he lives. So as Soto ages, not a great fit in LA. Maybe that's stopping them, but as Jeff Passan wrote, I think we were all prepared to be talking about the Dodgers at the same point that we're talking about these other suitors. Passan wrote this week that the Dodgers are not going to get involved unless Soto's market craters and they can step in and get him at an absolute discount. And I don't know much about Juan Soto's market, but the one thing I know is it's not going to crater. The Red Sox are not there. I've heard enough about John Henry being cheap. Like, while John Henry was busy being cheap, the Red Sox basically put together a 500 team that was able to be better than that and go to the ALCS in 2021. Now he has all the money in the world and the best farm system in baseball. So I'm done hearing about John Henry being cheap, by the way. Please stop talking about it. But consider, if you're going to call him cheap, he's not getting a Juan Soto meeting by accident. He's not going to there are 4 teams with Juan Soto meetings. He's not going in there to be like, would Juan like to play with the Red Sox for $200 million? At which point, yeah, the Dodgers would step in if Soto's peak offers are half of what they should be. But that's not what's going to happen. So the Dodgers will step in only if the market craters. It won't, unless you consider the market cratering 500 million versus 600. Because maybe the Mets and Yankees and Red Sox try to play it safe at first and see if they can all start colluding and matching at 480, 500, 520 instead of 600 or 650. But it's not going to the basement. The Dodgers aren't going to have a chance to hop in and do 3 years, 210 million and front load it with all the saved Ohtani money. So if that's their only plan, then I'm not scared of them at all. If they decide to change their tune and realize that Juan Soto would be a better fit than Andy Pages in right field for a team looking to repeat, or if they want to let Teoscar Hernandez, if somebody jumps the line and signs Teoscar Hernandez right now, if the Red Sox or Orioles, who are rumored to want Teoscar, hop in and just do that and grab a contingency plan, maybe the Dodgers will pivot and get involved in these waters, because AAV-wise, it's not much of a difference. It's just the term length. If his market craters, he's still going to cost $50 million a year. The Dodgers would just be like, why don't you do that for 5 years instead of 13 or 14? His price isn't going into the toilet. It's just not going to happen. So for now, based on what we know, fear factor of the Dodgers is like a 1. But if somebody signed Teoscar Hernandez by the end of this week and it wasn't them, then I would be like, all right, then I have to think about the Dodgers. But right now, for some reason, it seems like they're not going to play.
I agree, and I'm not worried about them. Again, we talked about it last episode. Like, I just don't think that's Soto's vibe. I think he wants to be one. He probably wants to be the main focal point of any team that he goes to, and he can settle for being, co-captain like he is kind of with Judge in New York right now. But again, like all of these other teams' situations, or at least the early going vibe with them, I'm not scared. The only thing I'm scared of is the Yankees botching it somehow, whether they cut themselves off or they cut themselves short financially, or they are asked to present an offer. Because the Yankees game is this, right? It's go out, find what you want, let us know what you're given, and then we'll figure out if we're going to match that or not. They're not going to, at least based on what we've kind of navigated throughout the few off seasons, they're not going to present you with a mind-blowing offer where you have to you as the free agent sit there and are like, oh man, I really got to consider this. Like, look what they did with Judge. They offered him a $214 million extension, which was a massive low ball for what Judge eventually accomplished. I think at the time we sat there and we're like, look, this really isn't that bad of a deal. Judge is mostly injured. October performance is a little bit of a coin flip, and he's entering his age 31 season. So it's really not that crazy. I just wouldn't have leaked it, and I wouldn't have made it a larger ordeal than it already was, because in your heart of hearts, as someone who, Brian Cashman, an executive, and has been around this block multiple times, like, you knew that was probably a low ball. You were trying to save every last dollar in doing that. So I don't think the Yankees are going to be like, Juan, $675 million, take it or leave it. This is the place to be. We're going to pay you the most amount of money. That's not what it's going to be. It's going to be, hey, go out, talk to the Mets, see what Steve's going to give you. If Steve is giving you upwards of 700 something million, come back to us. We'll talk about a different structured deal or your legacy and come to terms with maybe all of those factors. But outside of and I think that the Yankees in some ways are smart to do that, right? They don't need to bid against themselves right now. The market's going to speak for itself. Soto wants to enter free agency. He wants to explore his options. He wants to talk to a bunch of different owners and organizations and see what's out there. So let him do it. Then again, if the Mets, all they have to offer is money, because don't forget, everyone, and look, the Mets NLCS run was really incredible. I think at the you look at, for example, the difference between like the 2021 Red Sox ALCS run versus what the Mets did this year, it's night and day. The Mets took a second half surge that made them one of the arguably the best team in baseball over that span. They beat a division winner on the road in a short series. They beat the NL I think for at least a decent amount of the season, the NL World Series favorite in the Phillies. Like, the Dodgers had fallen off a bit. They had too many injuries. And when you stacked up roster versus roster, a lot of people said, yeah, Phillies. So they beat the Phillies in a DS, and then they go to the CS with the Dodgers. And I would say it was largely uncompetitive, but they made the Dodgers sweat there by swiping one game. And you saw by the end how outmatched the Mets were on paper. So the fact that they were even able to bring it to 6 games, the fact that they were even able to make it there was incredible. However, there is a lot of turnover on this roster. So Juan Soto might have been enticed by, whoa, Mets made an NLCS run. They have very little roster turnover, and they have money to spend on extra pieces. Sign me up. That's not the case. This Mets team is going to have a decent amount of roster holes, and I understand that they have the ability to patch some up, at least in the interim. Luis Angel Acuna can slot in right in the infield. I think it'll be relatively easy to maybe re-sign some of the low cost like vibe options that they had. Jesse Winker was one, for example. But you look at Sean Manaea departing, you look at Pete Alonso potentially departing, you look at the fact that they kind of need more of a bullpen than the Yankees at this point. All that stuff matters. So I don't know if the Mets are the most attractive destination, even if they can give you the most money. Go down the rest of the list, like Blue Jays. Really? I mean, how many conversations have there been from the start? I guess let's just start. Why am I doing this?
I don't know.
Why am I doing this? You're the co-host. You got to stop me. Where do we start?
I mean, look, Blue Jays. I would rather rank in order of teams that were actually like. Yes, I'll do the Mets first because that is still the team that I am most afraid of.
Well, I got my Mets argument out of the way, so
I think. I keep moving the Mets around. They started for me the offseason at like an 8. Then I moved them down to a 6 when I really thought about David Stearns and his bug for creativity. Does he really want to splash this thick amount of cash just on Juan Soto without addressing the roster vacancies and the rotation holes that you're talking about here? Because if the Mets sign Juan Soto to a $700 million deal, they're also going to have to replace Luis Severino and Sean Manaea. They could sign Luis Severino and Sean Manaea, or they can upgrade, be really scary, and get Corbin Burns, or get Max Fried, or get Blake Snell, or get 2 of those 3 guys. So we're looking at $1 billion plus offseason here. And Steve Cohen spent a lot of money in the past, but when he has spent all that money, it's been massive short-term deals that blew other offers out of the water for 40-year-old established aces, and also just splurge after splurge after splurge. Even before David Stearns, he just signed a fleet of guys. And then Carlos Correa fell in his lap, and he's like, I mean, I'll do that too if nobody wants him. And then ultimately, even he decided, okay, I don't want to take this chance. I'm going to wriggle my way out of this. So if the Mets are going to operate at their full fire-breathing, mega dragon mode, then they're an 8 or an 8.5. And Steve Cohen's just saying, I have literally no limits. Test me. But that's what fans think. That's fan fiction about Steve Cohen. And that also takes David Stearns completely out of the equation in terms of what he was brought in to do. David Stearns was not brought in to spend $750 or $800 or $850 million on Juan Soto and make it a joke. Obviously, hitting free agency at the age of 25 means that 26, he turned 26 during the World Series, right? So that makes him one of the most unique free agents of all time. That's why a team like the Mets that has many holes is like, but everything looks a lot better if we have Juan Soto, so who cares about the other holes? That's why a team like the Red Sox that wouldn't spend on Aaron Judge and didn't get into Ohtani's stratosphere and didn't even really backfill in free agency the last couple of years wouldn't have an issue signing Juan Soto because he's a 26-year-old generational superstar who will be there for 12, 13, 14 years. You can trade, everyone loves your prospects, but you can trade Roman Anthony. You can trade Wilyer Abreu for ace-level starting pitch. You don't need any of these people if you have Juan Soto. So if I'm the Boston Red Sox, I think long and hard about the pitching I need to add, but I can acquire it. I don't have to spend on it if I spend on Juan Soto. It makes sense. You can talk yourself into it. You have to talk Soto into it too, but still. So the Mets in fan fiction universe are an 8.5, a 9. But thinking about David Stearns, hearing Andy Martino say what we've thought, but then stopped thinking as we actually hit free agency, but now think again that if all things are equal, Soto's a little inscrutable, but he believes if all things are equal, he wants to go back to the Yankees. Again, as long as that's the case, I can't really put the Mets above a 6 or a 7 because the Yankees have the power to equalize. They come last. This isn't Saquon Barkley where it's, also position running back versus Juan Soto. Whatever. And the Giants are terrible. Giants are terrible and the Yankees are a World Series contender. But Joe Shane saying, go out on the market, test it out, and maybe, hey, let us know. And then they came back, but it was already a done deal when they came back. The Yankees have the last meeting with Juan Soto. I'm pretty confident that meeting isn't going to be Soto saying, by the way, I already signed with the Mets. So the Yankees have a chance to counter, and as long as the Yankees have a chance to counter, I can't put the Mets in the true hot zone of this scale. I got to put them at like a 6, 6.5. I like that they're bringing Lindor to this meeting. I like that for them. If what Soto really wants is to be the sole star, the solar centerpiece, he sure did a good job hiding that this year, as he really seemed to love playing off Aaron Judge. If that was just an act for the cameras, then good job by Juan Soto. I bought it. But that doesn't seem legit to me necessarily. I don't know why he would be like, no, I don't want lineup protection. Make me the only star. But that would be, if that were true, that'd be a disadvantage for the Mets too, because Lindor is the captain de facto of that team. But you get bonus points for bringing Lindor to the meeting. Shows it's not just about money. But Steve Cohen isn't an idiot. Like, he's built a financial, windfall by not outbidding his opponents by 40% to ensure that he receives what he wants. He gets what he wants. If he wants Juan Soto and it takes a little stretch, he'll do it. But I really don't think Steve Cohen's going to be like, the Yankees want to pay you $600 million. My offer is $950 million. Take it or leave it. If he does that, he's getting him. But I don't think he's doing that.
No, I think the only I agree with the 6 scale here. Like, the Mets are obviously a threat. Not losing sleep over it. And one more note on who's hitting free agency for them. Pete Alonso, Sean Manaea, Jose Quintana, Luis Severino, JD Martinez, who I know they wouldn't bring back anyway, Harrison Bader, Adam Ottavino, Ryan Stanek, Drew Smith, Jesse Winker, Jose Iglesias. All of those guys played massive roles for that team this year. That's literally 10 players. So the Yankees have much of an easier turnover to deal with, and most of the guys that they had anyway weren't contributing to the vibes. They were killing the vibes. So there's a good switch out of both energy and talent coming from the Bronx, if you want to look at it that way. The only way I see the Mets getting this deal done is if they tell Soto, if they give him what's the number here that probably gets it done? 7+?
Yeah,
maybe, I guess 700
700 to 750 is large enough and scary enough for a first offer that I think that's the one number that if Hal Steinbrenner sees that, he pauses a little bit.
And what if the Mets are just like, here's $710 million, the offer expires by the end of tonight?
Yeah.
I don't know if Juan Soto would negotiate with that. I don't know if Scott Boras would play that game. I don't know if Scott Boras would call that bluff, but I think if they want to ratchet up pressure, that's how they do it. But otherwise, I don't know if the infrastructure there is good, regardless of what Jeff Passan wants to tell me in his end-of-year column that I still am salty about.
And I think we are allowed to say that there is a point in the contract where the Yankees paying Juan Soto is just a little bit dumb. Like, not very dumb, but if the Yankees, if you want to blank, it's not blank checking DJ LeMahieu, but if you pay $800 million for Juan Soto and then you're like, all right, now we got to address the rotation, bullpen, infield, like, you're going to feel a little bit stupid.
Yeah, but I also am looking at this, and I really don't think that his market is going to go beyond Ohtani's, and I really don't think it's going to go. I don't think it's going to go that far above $600 million. Like, as much as I love Juan Soto, never won an MVP. Well, isn't even the front runner to win MVP this year. Ohtani, two-way player, international superstar in an international market that actually brings MLB like hand over fist revenue. Japan versus Dominican Republic is two different animals. Just the like, I guess, lore behind Ohtani and what he can accomplish as a two-way player, how he's the first to do it at this level in 100 years and all that, like all that weighs into the contract. Soto, amazing player, rare to have in free agency at his juncture, but he's not a good defender. And if you're talking about having him misplaced in the outfield, if that's the way that it's going to go, with the alignment that you have with the Yankees, like it's not worth it once you reach a certain point. And I would agree with that too. No player is worth that amount of money. And everybody can sit here and say, well, the owners can spend whatever they want. Yeah, they can, but there's a tax penalty and there's a threshold, and that's part of the rules that we have to abide by. And it doesn't make sense for the Yankees to pay $100 million to two players and have the rest of the team not be suitable. And we've seen what happens when that's the case. This team has underachieved for a very long time with Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. And I know Aaron Judge wasn't even getting paid that much, but the Yankees opted to cut payroll during that time because they had a lot of financial commitments on the books that were running up the score, and they didn't want it to be the case. So if you want to live with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto being the undisputed top two players on this team, surrounded by a bunch of guys who are not pulling their weight, which again was a lot of the discussion this year too. It was Judge and Soto, and then everybody else struck out or didn't provide enough protection in the lineup. Then, I guess that's a strategy. I don't think it's a World Series winning strategy. So you go back to the drawing board and you figure out how it makes the most sense to build a winning team. Who else are we scared of next? I guess Red Sox would fall next here for me.
Right? Red Sox are my next, and I commend the Red Sox for being involved. And they're the Giants in this year's field, I guess, because it turns out the Giants were a sentimental favorite for Aaron Judge, but not a real favorite because they were easily outbid and the Padres outbid them. I understand why the Red Sox would be tempted to get in this market. I think the Red Sox are being smart here by getting involved. Regardless, you get FaceTime with Scott Boras. All the reports are they're ready to spend this offseason, and they should be because they have a great core of position players, young position players, and position player prospects. Their rotation is a whole bunch of 3s and 4s. They scare no one. They're losing Nick Pivetta. They're getting worse. So get in a room with Juan Soto and Scott Boras. Try your hardest. Maybe he picks you, and then you have Juan Soto. But at the very least, you're talking with Scott Boras. You could just say, hey, we showed you. We're not kidding. We offered $530 million or whatever. And we put pressure on the Yankees. Now they pay more. Haha, that's very funny. Anyway, let's talk Corbin Burns. Let's talk Blake Snell. Yeah. Because they need, Max Fried, they need one or two high dollar pitchers. And I think the best way to do that is by splashing cash on one of these guys and then trading tippy top prospects for either Garrett Crochet or these Mariners guys or whatever. And the Red Sox are going to be really good next year. Really good. Maybe that's an overstatement. Trevor Story plays like 3 games a year. You never know. But I think the Red Sox, it's been fun underestimating them, but also they've been passable the last couple of years. And so everyone talking about, oh, they're a basement dwelling team. And then of course they're like 10 games over 500 at the All-Star break the last couple of years. So that's been no fun. So estimating them properly this year will be more fun. Expectations on the Red Sox will be more fun than people, inelegantly burying them across baseball only for them to be very competent, for Red Sox fans to talk smack about players they previously hated, like Masataka Yoshida. Oh, wait, actually, we love him now. Oh, wait, now he struck out in a big spot. Now we hate him again. Fickle Red Sox. Juan Soto's childhood favorite team, apparently, we know his family loves the Yankees. All that came out when he went to the Yankees. Clearly, Soto's Red Sox fandom, he's over it. He was a Yankee last year. He redid his whole Instagram with pinstripes. He wanted to be here. He loved the spotlight. We love it. But he did an interview a couple of years ago where he said, Pedro, Papi, Manny, all those Dominican stars in the Red Sox, those are my favorite teams. And that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Why wouldn't they have been? So early rumors were Papi was not going to be part of this Red Sox meeting. The Red Sox meeting is reportedly happening today. According to those in the know, they are serious about their pursuit of Soto, and they should be. But I'm going to give them I'm giving them like a 3. I feel like this is a fact-finding mission. I wouldn't be stunned if they No, I'm amending that. I would be stunned if they wound up with Soto because
Yeah.
I would be stunned if they weren't outbid by the New York Mets. But like it feels like it's going in a chain right now. And we'll get to the last ranked team shortly, but it feels like 3 days ago, Bob Nightingale predicted the Jays were going to make a splash. Early in the before the offseason even began, there was a story from one of Juan Soto's ex-teammates that said, "Look out for the Jays. They're going to make a major offer." They started to get some crystal ball predictions in their corner. In this, Nightingale's publication in the USA Today column, he said Jays, everyone else said Yankees. That was interesting. But the Jays had their meeting already because the Red Sox are having their meeting today. And I haven't heard about the Jays in 48 hours. And I'm hearing nonstop about the Red Sox today and how serious their pursuit is. Again, is it really noteworthy that their pursuit is serious? For Red Sox fans who feel like John Henry doesn't spend money anymore, even though, again, he's built the #1 farm system in baseball and they were a hog's breath away from going to the World Series 3 years ago. For them, sure. If you're gonna cosplay being in a championship drought, even though it's only been 6 years, and Cleveland would love to have a word with you, and Minnesota would love to have a word with you, and the Mariners and the Padres would love to have a word with you. If you're gonna cosplay being in the worst drought of all time, then yeah, I guess it matters that their pursuit is serious and isn't just phony and driving the price up. But that said, I don't understand why the Mets wouldn't be able to outbid the Red Sox here.
Yeah.
So that's what they're a 3, but like they're a scrappy 3, and they're setting up to have a good offseason regardless of whether they sign Juan Soto.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 just because of the new sentimentality aspect of it. I think the Red Sox have allowed a lot of smart spending opportunities to pass them by.
I thought so.
And I'm not saying this is dumb, but when you look at Fenway Park, when you look at Soto's defensive capabilities, when you look at Soto's spray chart, it's not a fit at all. And to invest all that money when you already have a surplus of outfield talent, and look, I'm not saying, pass on Juan Soto because you have other outfielders. No, you already have the surplus there. So if you have enough talent in that regard, why would you spend the most amount of money you could possibly spend on a redundant position? The other alternative is you can spend this amount of money on this position and then trade from the outfield surplus, like you said, to make up for other deficiencies. But based on how the Red Sox have historically spent their money and their habits in free agency, Juan Soto doesn't really feel like a fit for the city. I don't know why, but he's just not. I can't put my finger on it. And it would be very uncharacteristic for the Red Sox to fall out of the Ohtani race, whether it was their fault or not, and then offer similar money to an outfielder when if he were to play right field there, it would be nothing short of a disaster. It's nothing short of a disaster. And so to remember, yeah.
I mean, I'm always watching the Red Sox, right? So I'm not discounting the Red Sox. If Soto goes there, my fandom's up for grabs. I'll be honest. Like, I'll auction off my fandom if Juan Soto leaves the Boston Red Sox. Mets suddenly feel like a really that would be a great outcome, honestly. But I'm always cognizant of the Red Sox. I just think they're A, going to be really good, B, going to spend elsewhere, and it's very strange. It feels like getting fans re-engaged and also getting re-engaged with Boris more than it actually feels like something that makes sense. Shohei Ohtani makes more sense. And they didn't really come to play there. And it fits the same window. He would have been there for the same length of time. Shohei Ohtani's numbers at Fenway Park would have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he would have been their perma DH, and you wouldn't have had to worry about it. Soto in right field at Fenway, 81 games a year. It's the kind of thing you live with, but it's not the kind of thing you want.
Yeah, it's exactly. Like, I'm not saying don't sign him because that would be a tough play. It's like, okay, Red Sox, you haven't spent in 5 years. Now you're going to spend on somebody who can immediately erase their offensive production with poor defense in a cavernous outfield. I don't know. At the very least, the Red Sox seem to me they can devise a plan to convince Juan Soto to sign there, right? They have the young talent. They have the trade chips. They have the remaining. They have a surplus of money, you would suspect, to further supplement his addition. So I could see that meeting going well. I think you are correct, though. It is more of a get in the door with Scott Boras, and then we make a bunch of upper middle class moves. Max Fried, Blake Snell's his agent, right? Blake Snell, Scott Boras' agent too.
Yeah,
Blake Snell, Willie Adames. maybe that's the move. I don't know, but the fit doesn't feel perfect, and I think that if the Red Sox are going to spend that money, the fit needs to be near perfect. That would at least give me a reason to root against Juan Soto forever, even though I don't really want that, but
Sure would.
It would. And
I don't know. I'm up for grabs. The Red Sox can have me if they sign Juan Soto. I'm willing to listen to offers, but I can't imagine Juan Soto out in right field at Fenway doing the Christian Arroyo on the Joey Gallo pop up.
Yeah.
Where am I? I don't know. I don't love it. I obviously don't love it. Wish they weren't involved, but they have no excuse not to be, especially because they know the
Yankees almost have to be.
Yankees are going to be at the end of this. So why wouldn't you be an idiot if you weren't throwing your hat in the ring and trying to raise the Yankees price?
And there's an element to this where it's like there's like the most appropriate form of collusion where free agency is like, look, you're a big market team. You fucking have to be involved here. You have to be. You don't have to spend all the money, but you got to be on the outside looking in at the very least. You have to be involved in the offseason rumors. Like, there is no way any big market team as of right now should not be considering Juan Soto from a baseline perspective. Of course, you have money. It's a generational player. You sign him. So I think the Red Sox, that could be part of the reason. In terms of, look, if you're Juan Soto and you look, even if the Red Sox have a plan right in front of you, you look at what they did after the 2018 World Series. Like, I wouldn't trust that organization. I'm going to be there for the next 14, 15 years. They tore down a World Series roster for what reason? Because they wanted to make more money on Liverpool. Like, that's something to consider. I'm not saying it's a death knell, but the Yankees don't have that disadvantage in their corner. The Yankees don't do teardowns like that. They fuck up from time to time, but they're never not a contender by their own doing. They're not shooting themselves in the foot to that degree. So Red Sox, I'll give them a 3 just because of the division rivalry here, the old Soto clips that are surfacing now, and the fact that I would hate my life if this happened.
You're going to pay Juan Soto double what you wouldn't pay Mookie Betts. I hope we can move on, but we got to talk about it today, especially because it's the day of the meeting. And if it's the day of the Red Sox meeting, that means the Blue Jays meeting has already passed them by. What are you guys doing?
Renting out a sushi restaurant?
When I first outlined this, you say Kikuchi renting out an entire sushi restaurant to celebrate, I don't know, his toddler's second birthday or something. When I even outlined this, it was before I learned about the Red Sox, the surge in Red Sox momentum or whatever. So I'm even downgrading the Blue Jays from where I was yesterday. I had the Blue Jays at a 2. Now they're down to a 1. Sorry, Toronto Blue Jays. Your meeting went by silently. I didn't believe it was real before it happened, while it was happening, and after it was happening. Because here, Blue Jays, your vision for the future with Juan Soto. Is it what the Yankees just did with Soto and Aaron Judge before free agency, and then we see if it works for a year? Is that what you're planning to do with Vlad Jr. and Soto? If you sign Juan Soto for $650 million, are you also extending Vlad Jr., or are you happy to let him walk? Are you essentially paying for 13 years of Juan Soto so that you can be World Series contenders in 2025 and then never again? Is that what you're trying to do theoretically? This one I don't understand one iota. Soto obviously makes every team he goes to or talks with better instantaneously. Last year when the Yankees got him, we said, will Juan Soto and very little else be the difference between an 80 to an 80 team and the potential to contend for a World Series? And it turned out it 100% was. The Yankees went to the World Series. So the Blue Jays were 14 under last year. Does Soto, and that was with a transcendent Vlad Jr. season. Does Soto get them to the edges of the wild card conversation? How high does Soto bring the 2024 Blue Jays? George Springer's regressing. That contract's on the books. I don't know. It smells bad to me. And then afterwards, you got to pay Vlad Jr. also $500 million. He's going to use Juan Soto's contract as a blueprint. You going to pay them both? Is that the team that you're about to be, Toronto Blue Jays? For me, the Blue Jays only makes sense if they are redefining what they are as a franchise overnight and bringing Soto and Vlad Jr. back for 10 or 11 years together. Otherwise, I don't get it at all. But if I'm supposed to fear the Blue Jays, that means I fear them doing something they've never done before and just throwing caution to the wind and saying, We have previously dabbled in like you said, the upper middle class territory in free agency. Well, now we're gonna the two of the three richest contracts on the books in all of Major League Baseball are gonna be us out of literal nowhere. So enjoy. We'll be a force to be reckoned with. I don't see it if Vlad Jr. walks. It's not an appealing team at all. So 1 or a 0.5.
Yeah, it's a 0.25. The biggest free agent deal this franchise has is George Springer, 6 years, $150 million. I understand that that discussion hasn't really been propelled in the last 10, 15 years because free agent contracts only started getting this ridiculous on a larger scale, right? Like obviously A-Rod's deal back in the day was groundbreaking and well, you couldn't even believe it. Now it's like that's happening with 5 guys. That's happening with 5 different players. So it's not, no one's really surprised by it. But the second biggest, guess the second biggest contract in Jay's history. Please. I know you know this.
Is it not Berrios?
No, it's a catcher.
Oh my God. Not a current catcher.
Oh no. Retired catcher for sure. Former Dodger as well.
What?
Yeah.
Russell Martin.
Yep. 5 years, $82 million. Hilarious contract. So on top, you look at that. You're going to tell me the next largest free agent contract is going to be $400+ million more than that? Okay. If you're willing to do that, great. Looking at the larger picture for the Blue Jays, this team has gotten worse despite additions and despite good additions. I have, for the last few years, on and off, have been kind of jealous at what the Blue Jays have been doing, right? I was pissed when they signed George Springer because I thought that would be a smart signing. I was and it honestly is not working out for them as much as it should have perhaps, but they took a swing and that was something that I thought was a good fit for the Yankees. The Berrios deal is super cost-effective. They're paying him as much as we're paying Marcus Stroman. So they got ahead of that market, made a great deal. Kevin Gausman was another contract that made the most sense. It was a $110 million deal, very good starting pitcher. Why are we letting him go to Toronto? Why can't we make that happen? Chris Bassett, a really good short-term high AAV deal that like we've been begging the Yankees to do to patch up this rotation. Didn't do it. But if you look at the rest of this roster, Bo Bichette has regressed massively and has dealt with injury issues.
Get traded.
Yeah. They got rid of Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., which I don't know. I still to this day do not know why. If they had those two players, it's a completely different ballgame.
Well, everyone told us that was smart, and then they immediately got way worse. So, well, interesting.
So if you're Juan Soto, and again, you're looking at front office track record, organizational prestige, what do the Blue Jays offer? They have their biggest claim to fame is what, the 2016 ALCS? Like
it could come back to bite me. I get it, but like I'm gonna be cautious and tread lightly with the Red Sox. And if Juan Soto goes to the Red Sox, I will be very upset by that. I'm not going to be cautious and tread lightly with the Blue Jays at all. And if Juan Soto goes to the Blue Jays, I'm going to find that mildly hilarious.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, did we for a second think Shohei Ohtani was signing with the Blue Jays?
I did for 1 second and wasn't scared. I wasn't scared.
That was the thing too. Because the rest of the formula is not working for them. One player is not going to fix whatever this is. We don't know if the Yankees
win the World Series. The Yankees win the World Series this year if Shohei Ohtani had gone to the Blue Jays. I think they do.
Yeah. Because I don't know what the Dodgers look like without him as MVP for the regular season. They could have been a
Padres probably knock him out. Yeah.
They could have been even if they I don't know what their regular season. That's a lot of injuries that this team has dealt with. Shohei carried them for a long time. Think about how much he picked that team up when Mookie Betts was out for 6 weeks. Like, massive. But yeah, the Blue Jays formula, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. Those fans are very critical of that front office in terms of the wishy-washy in or out, win now moves, conviction to spending. So you look at this payroll too. I'm looking at the Blue Jays payroll via Baseball Reference. I love the layout. They have one player under a guaranteed contract after 2026, and it's Jose Berrios. For 2026, they have three players under guaranteed contract. It is Berrios, Springer, and Gossman. And then by that time, you have Vladimir Guerrero as a free agent. You have Chris Bassett as a free agent. You would, in theory, have Bo Bichette as a free agent. So there is no long-term roadmap here with another core of stars or core of above-average players. And I guess that, in essence, paves the way for Soto to be the guy. But, again, the destination doesn't feel right. This is not, in my opinion, the place to be the guy. And I don't know if Soto's going to be sold on that. Yeah.
Farm system stinks.
Yeah.
Not very hashtag to the core. Yeah, again, I understand. Look, Blue Jays fans find me. They find me every day. They'll find me if Juan Soto goes to the Blue Jays, and I'll deserve it. I will take it if Juan Soto goes to the Blue Jays. But right now, couldn't be less afraid of that possibility. And honestly, if they did sign him, I would just have to kind of go like, oh, well, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we talked about the Yankees, right? Honestly, I think the Yankees scare me, like you said, more than any of these teams. Although they're neck and neck with the Mets, just because it couldn't be more obvious what they have to do. They're probably not going to get the ultimatum that you described. The only way they're not going to get a chance to match is if Steve Cohen comes in and blows the door down and doesn't play nice and says, you got to get back to me by tonight. And then the Yankees will scramble, and then they probably won't react well to that. So there's no rule that says a dog can't play basketball, and there's no rule that says that Steve Cohen has to play nice. He can go in there and be like, I know you're meeting with the Yankees tomorrow. I actually don't give a shit. Our offer $700 million. It expires tonight. So why don't you go mull that over and let me know? And never meet with the Yankees. Like, that's what I would do if I had that much money. I almost have that much money, but not quite. So, yeah, I mean, I think unless Steve Cohen pulls off something really alpha, then Hal Steinbrenner will be the last man in the room with Juan Soto, a team. You saw Gleyber Torres wipe all of his Instagram of everything Yankees related, sent himself into free agency as a member of Team Venezuela. His bio says athlete. Juan Soto's Instagram still has the pinstripe SOTO overlay. It's got all these Yankees posts. He hasn't changed a thing. Rumor mill online says he just started following the Yankees on Instagram. I don't believe that for 1 second. I don't know how that is possible unless he unfollowed and refollowed. And even so, I don't know how that could possibly matter. In your world, if you think it matters that Juan Soto followed the Yankees on Instagram, do you think he's just sitting there DMing with @Yankees thinking he's negotiating? Like, oh, so we have a deal? Great, I'll tell Scott. Thanks. Thanks, admin. Like, does he think the admin is Hal Steinbrenner? I don't know why I should possibly care about that. But it is true that he has not rid himself of the exterior Yankees skeleton, right? Like the exoskeleton. So I give the Yankees the edge. I am about as scared of them fumbling the bag as I am of it's somewhere between the Red Sox and Mets, honestly. But I don't think Hal Steinbrenner can afford to do so unless the Mets put it in a ridiculous realm. I think fans love to forgive owners for not spending money these days. It's everybody's favorite thing. When a big deal, fans are like, you have to sign this guy. And then if the guy goes elsewhere and the deal is a little bit unpalatable, fans love to be like, oof, I see why they passed. I totally get it. Okay, regroup, sign Christian Walker, sign Teoscar Hernandez. And those fans are wrong. Those fans are ridiculous. The Yankees make all the money in the world. They made $15 million today renting out giving the Rays relief and renting out George Steinbrenner Field so they don't have to play at the Trop. They make money hand over fist. They're the most profitable team in baseball, and they spend one of the lowest percentages of their revenue. They have no excuse not to match the top offer for Juan Soto, but fans will give them an excuse, and Hal Steinbrenner knows that, if it looks unreasonable. If it's in the 600s, fans will not let him hear the end of it. If it's in the 700s, fans will forgive it and go, well, you saw Soto's defense. And, well, I mean, they didn't win the World Series with Soto. So fans will start rationalizing it. He knows that. So I'm not afraid of him not matching an offer in the low 600s. I'm afraid of him not matching an offer in the 700s.
Yeah. What other honorable mentions we have here? Giants, Cubs.
Cubs should be in. I'm not sure why they're not like forcing the Cubs to be in.
What are the Ricketts doing? I mean, I don't understand what they're doing. I really don't. I'd like to talk to a Cubs fan and try to get some perspective there, because that seems like torture to me.
Well, did one of them get another job in the new Trump administration? That could obviously take up some of their time. Is one of them an ambassador to Poland or whatever?
The other the only other team that's not officially involved in meetings now is the Phillies, who have been linked to him, and that's really the only team that I'm scared of. You look at other contenders like the Braves; they don't hand out contracts like this, as you know. They're more of the get the hometown guy or get the arbitration guy signed through his years, and that's how we'll build the core. And plus, Ronald Acuna Jr. plays right field, so the fit is very much imperfect. They would have to move pieces around. Cardinals are another big spender, but they are in the boat of trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do for the rest of time, because it's been a pretty brutal stretch for them in their attempt at a revamp. With Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, and Sonny Gray, et cetera, has not gone well. And then you look at the Padres, who literally traded him because they couldn't afford him. So I don't see a scenario where that comes to life. And there were rumors of Juan Soto not really enjoying his time either in San Diego or just the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's why I'm a little bit less scared of the Dodgers. If I wasn't as concerned with, like, I fully believe that Japanese players, especially someone like Shohei Ohtani, want to be as close to, their home country as possible. That was a big thing when I was looking at the free agency. I was like, yeah, this is logical. There's a big market contending team out there. You're going there. Think about if you're a free agent. Like, yeah, he has no attachment to the Yankees. Ohtani had no attachment to the Yankees, no attachment to the Mets. There was nothing luring him there. So it was like, obviously, yeah, I'm just going to go to the Dodgers. So, and I am fully of the belief that Juan Soto wants to be on the East Coast because that's where family is. That's how he can get easy access to going back home to the DR. And it makes all the sense in the world. So that's why I think that prioritizes this side of the country and helps the Yankees out. But I think the Phillies, honestly, should be a lot higher on this scale than people realize, because Dave Dombrowski never hesitates and is never uninvolved in big name free agents, regardless of the stature, regardless of the fit. Secondly, if they figure out a way to move Nick Castellanos' contract, that would open up a door. And you look at the way their payroll is kind of structured, like, yeah, they have Bryce Harper and Trey Turner signed long-term. And I guess even Aaron Nola, who has another 6 or 7 years. But other than that, that's it. So Zach Wheeler signed to a short-term deal. There's nobody else bogging down the payroll necessarily. Kyle Schwarber, I think, is a free agent after next year. So there's a lot of flexibility to be had. And they already dealt with whatever defense in right field with Castellanos. I know he actually improved over time, but it's not like they had a Gold Glover out there that was saving them runs on a nightly basis. And Juan Soto's about a massive upgrade over him. So that's really where my fear is, because if you want to talk contender, if you want to talk like ironclad contender with star players, you want to talk East Coast, you want to talk fun competitive division, which I actually think Soto values. Soto values the competition. We watched him play for an entire season. It was nothing like I had seen from a Yankees player in I can't even tell you how long. And he very much valued all of the high intensity moments and the competitive atmosphere and it not being an easy road. Like, that was all stuff that he embraced, and I think that that's something he would welcome more for the second chapter of his career. We should be a lot more worried about the Phillies, because I think Dave Dombrowski is super aggressive and can get really creative. I don't know about their farm system though. What's that looking like? Do they have pieces to trade?
Yeah, it's very high, top heavy. It's pitchers. They've got Andrew Painter coming back from TJ. They've got some depth arms. They believe in Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford a lot. That's why they're going to probably trade Marsh to pave the way for Justin Crawford, maybe do a stopgap center fielder. And I think they're going to trade Alec Boehm to.
Oh yeah. Alec Boehm's another one on the trade block. So if they get rid of him, Castellanos, and Marsh, that's going to clear over $30-something million.
Yeah. They should do it. And Kevin Long is there. Like, there's a reason that everybody thought the Phillies were going to get involved. And I don't know what the reason is why they haven't gotten involved, because all the math still maths, you should sign Juan Soto, sign Alex Bregman, and call it a day. We'll see what they actually do.
Yeah, we'll see what anybody actually does. I need traction, though. This is getting really boring, and I understand that. Like, we have the Angels as the only team doing stuff. The Red Sox signed Justin Wilson today. Why?
Well,
I don't know.
Best part of this podcast is we had a bunch of other stuff we wanted to cover.
We're here.
Photo suitors, and we're going to be able to do all of this in 30 seconds because it all sucks. Like, now we're the Soto chase. Technically, it's heated up. Technically, he's halfway through his meetings. Here's what we've actually got going on right now. The Yankees and Tim Hill are mutually interested in a reunion. Great. That should cost $4 million a year, and that should be already done. Why isn't that done yet? That's easy. Let's do that. The Yankees are one of 3 teams we know and 5-team total that are chasing Yoan Moncada. That's gibberish. Moncada also got hit in the hand by a pitch in Cuban competition. Overnight, apparently, he's fine, but there's enough swelling. He's not going to play in the rest of this tournament. Yoan Moncada plays 18 games a year. He's been an above average hitter in recent years when he's played. He basically doesn't play. He had one of the worst seasons of all time in 2022 that has just completely decimated his reputation, and deservedly so, because he hasn't played enough in the aftermath of that to make an argument for his body of work. But he had a 626 OPS that year, 77 OPS plus. He had a 140 OPS plus in 2019. That was the juice ball. He was 24 years old. Everybody hit in 2019. After that, he's been Gleyber Torres levels of above average or Drek when he's played, and he pretty much doesn't play. So unless that's $2 million, I'm not interested in clogging up the budget with Yoan Moncada. Please and thank you. The Yankees did make $15 million today, renting out George Steinbrenner Field to the Tampa Bay Rays. They're going to be able to reinvest that. Maybe they never reinvest their profits and revenue, though, so don't get your hopes up. And during this podcast, breaking news, it does look like they're going to hire Dave Sims from the Mariners to be the John Sterling replacement, which hell of a replacement, really high profile, not exactly going to the younger names in the bullpen. He is 71 years old. John Sterling is 86. So big name, flashy on the marquee, also great rep, great announcer. Going to be exciting to listen to Dave Sims. But yeah, we went external there. Maybe we'll go swanky everywhere else. But does any of this inspire you whatsoever? I mean, this is the real stuff that we're talking about now. And it's real estate and the Yankees dabbling in signing one of baseball's worst players.
Yep. Thanks, guys. No, not inspired at all. But I expected this to happen because, again, of the top-heavy free agent market, and Scott Boras is controlling the market. So I can't fully blame all the MLB teams for the inactivity, because we know how this takes a lot of time to materialize and come into focus. But can reporters just dig up a little more? Is there not?
I wanted Justin Wilson. Like, I can't believe we got outbid on Justin Wilson.
Imagine him coming back. You know what I immediately thought about when that happened? The game he blew against the Tigers.
That's the only thought I had in my head. One of the worst blown saves, and it would be the worst blown save of any year except for that year where it was like the 8th ranked. Yeah. Go back to 2021. At one point at the end of that year, we ranked all the blown saves and blown leads from that season. But Justin Wilson had a 2-1 lead in extras, had strike 3 on Robbie Grossman for the final out, didn't get it called, lost the zone, came center cut on 3-2 and gave up a walk-off 2-run home run. It was basically the Jhonkensy Noel home run from this postseason, except on a much smaller scale of like, well, the only thing you can't do here is give up, but hey, there goes a home run. Fantastic. And the game ended immediately. And that was Justin Wilson's second tenure with the Yankees in a nutshell. I look forward to walking him off this year for sure. That's pretty much the only thing. He's going to get walked off by someone. Maybe not us, but it's like Adam Ottavino when he went to the Red Sox. It's like, you might have a month. You might have 3 weeks. You might have a month and a half. But someone's going to get you. Someone's going to get you. You're going to get walked off at some point.
And it's going to be bad. You better believe it. But yeah, I need something to speed up. I need some more fun. We can't talk about it today, but Monday we'll talk about some hypothetical deals that we're cooking up in our brains. Maybe some reunions that can't happen. Mm-hmm. That absolutely can't happen. Mm-hmm. Maybe the weekend brings us some more, but right now this is what we're dialed into. Juan Soto meetings have started. Hopefully that begins a bit of a domino effect for smaller free agents. Angels are making moves. Angels, hello. Mm-hmm.
The
Some
Angels
moves
have
actually
signed
I would
everyone.
prefer. Yeah, I would prefer. Like, I would have loved for the Yankees to get Kevin Newman.
Yeah.
Right.
The Angels have signed everyone so far that has been signed. The Angels signed Kevin Newman. The Angels signed Travis d'Arnaud. The Angels signed Kyle Hendricks. Like, we're not actually joking when the Angels are the only team making moves.
It's a good transaction log.
They didn't get Justin Wilson though. So,
Oh, damn.
tip of the cap. Tip of the cap to the Boston Red Sox. I mean, again, the Red Sox are going to have a big offseason. That's not great, but it's good for expectations because I'm sick of everyone dumping on the Red Sox and Red Sox fans crying poor. Now it's time for the Red Sox fans to cry rich and then either get what they want or get disappointed. That's more fun than when they're like, nobody pays attention. Our little old us have never signed a free agent except Kurt Schilling and Manny Ramirez and hundreds of other players over the years. And we've only been the most successful franchise in baseball since 2004. Okay, cool. Literally, you are the gold standard, but keep crying about how you've never done anything and nothing good's ever happened to you. Red Sox, Mets, I think you're real. Blue Jays, I don't. Justin Wilson, prepare to meet your maker. We will see you back here on Monday afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern. The Yankees Juan Soto meeting, I think, will be almost happening at that point, just about happening. Lindor's already in LA, so maybe all this is happening sooner than we thought. But hey, let's get ignited. Let's have ourselves an off season. We'll see you on Monday, 2 o'clock Eastern. No holiday. We will do a live stream. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib as well as Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
Also on there, I got like 56 followers and a big screaming block that says invalid handle. So you guys got to fix that. I don't know what that means, but I am there.
Yeah, I made an account. I don't have a picture yet, but you can find me at Tommy's_takes. There, it's Tommy's-takes.
Tommy's-takes .blue sky / biz .sky
.org. You can find us at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. As always, a lot of content there, a lot of stuff we're cooking up. We're trying to have a good time, keep everybody engaged, keep everybody informed. It's where you're going to get all the offseason news. It's where you're going to get all the offseason speculation. So please keep reading. We appreciate the support. And, of course, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Very easy thing you can do. And we'll thank you at some point. Subscribe, say it in the chat. We'll give you a shout-out, name. We'll say hi to your mom and dad if you want. But, yeah, it'd be greatly appreciated. And until then, have yourselves a good weekend. Hopefully some free agency balls get rolling, and we'll have something nice to talk about on Monday, folks.
I hope so. Let's roll those free agency balls. Roll them until Monday. We'll see you then.